Right, you gotta do a big clap to start it.
You want to do the clap?
Yeah, ready? 3, 2, 1. Good spike.
Great sound wave.
Alright, welcome to the long run, home of all things running, walking, jogging, and everything in between. My name is Angus, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host Elton.
Hello, Angus. Lovely to be here. First episode.
Yes, not a welcome back, just a straight up welcome. How are you feeling today?
I'm great. I'm excited.
Beautiful.
I think we're about to have a lot of fun with this podcast.
Hopefully it lasts longer than one episode. Elton, run us through what are we going to be going through in this podcast?
So, in this podcast alone, what are we doing?
What can people expect throughout our future podcasts?
Throughout the future podcasts, what we're doing, we are looking to be a home of mostly Australian running, and from a recreational runner standpoint. We are not elites by any means.
Casuals.
Very much
casuals.
Very much casuals. So, no elite running. We'll be touching on it. We'll be throwing around a bit of praise. We'll watch. But then we'll talk a bit about our own training, what we've been doing throughout the week, what we're running, what we're planning for.
What else?
I'll also be looking to hopefully give a bit more of a coach insight into the discussions.
Shameless plug coming up.
Shameless plug is that, yes, Lachlan and I, as well with our friend Ethan, do have Changing Pace, which specialise in personalised run coaching. So I'm also going to use this as a bit of a platform that if people want to do writing questions that do have things that they want us to discuss or want our opinions on in terms of training or anything around what it takes to prepare for a race or a run or to even get into running of all levels, hopefully I can provide a little bit of insight then for our listeners.
I'll be very excited to hear your expertise on said topics.
And then pretty much break it down. Hopefully a few guests of the pod.
Few guests. Look at all the new gear dropping. Try out some new shoes. Try out some gels. Hopefully give the listeners, the viewers, some information on what they should and shouldn't spend their money on.
Spoiler for the rest of the episode, towards the end, we do have a product review coming, and it's quite a controversial one.
Huge hot topic in the running space at the moment.
So make sure you stick around to the end of the pod. Teaser.
So yeah, we'll be taking you through how we're training, what races we have coming up, races we've done in terms of recaps, how we prepared, fuel that we took during the race, post-race, pre-race, hoping to give you any possible tips or tricks to take into your future running events. Now, Elton, speaking of training, little birdie told me that you tested out some new gear on your Sunday long run today.
I did test out some new gear on the Sunday long run today. So a hot topic in the hybrid community are nasal strips.
Nasal strips, the little black strip that you see over every Ironman, every High Rocks athlete, every marathoner at the moment, meant to open up the airways, help you breathe better, and run faster.
Now, I believe we're going to get into the objective data soon, but
love objective data.
I thought for the sake of the pod and for the sake of the content, I would put my pride aside and in the cold darkness of Carrington as my disguise, I decided to don the strip.
Didn't want to come out in public with that one.
No, look, honestly, I was a little bit embarrassed wearing it. I already saw too many people that I knew while I was wearing the strip.
Kind of a big deal around Newcastle, are you?
None of that.
None of that.
Just friendly face.
Friendly, you know?
Yeah. I just didn't want that face to be tarnished by such a controversial bit of gear. I thought for the preparation of this, I should also really get into the hybrid athlete mentality.
Did you go shirtless?
I did not go shirtless. I did go on Nick Bear podcast.
Nick Bear, shout out Nick Bear, go one more.
The one with Luke Hopkins, actually.
Huge.
Yeah, somewhat interesting, inspirational. I do advise giving it a listen. But I've done the podcast, done the strip, and I set off for my long run this morning.
Elton, how far did you go this morning?
About 21 clicks.
What sort of pace were you looking at?
Touch over 5 minute pace.
5 minute pace.
Yeah, we're cruising at. It picked up a little bit towards the end when I was feeling a little bit good, but heart rate was nice and controlled.
Because of all that easy breathing.
Maybe because of all the easy breathing. But I did unfortunately take the no strip off after 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
40 minutes into my hour and 50 long run.
Right.
So, did it help me breathe better? Yes. I will.
Truly.
I will admit, yes.
Fair.
It does mechanically influence the shape of the nose.
For those that don't know, how does it open your nose up?
Pretty much, it's a pretty solid strip, but with one adhesive side.
Right.
So when you stick it on, it wants to straighten out, and with that, it does bring your nostrils with it.
And are you sticking it on the little bulb part of your nose, or just above it? Or
I went just above.
Right.
I was no expert. Was putting this on about 5:30 this morning.
Wide awake.
Wide awake.
Yeah.
And really focused in on it.
Beautiful.
And as soon as I put it on, I thought, yeah, I can breathe through my nose a little bit better.
Right.
My only gripe with it is that it was just there.
Oh, you could feel it.
I could feel it the entire time, and I could see it the entire time.
True.
And you know when you've got like a hair on your nose or something on your nose that you can feel? That's what it felt like for the first 40 minutes. So that's why I kind of cracked it.
Potentially a good distraction for people struggling to spend a long time out on course running.
Also true. Also true.
Or extremely annoying.
Or extremely annoying.
Which is what you found.
I think, look, I'm a mouth breather.
Shout out to him. There's got to be a few in the world.
Like, I don't need my nose opened up. So when I did take it off, I thought, yeah, I can breathe slightly less through my nose.
You noticed the difference?
I did, but it did not affect performance at all.
Looking back at your stats, was your heart rate any different at all, really?
Well, let me give you some live stats right now. Garmin sponsor us. Or Chorus.
Not picky at the moment.
I'll take any. That is a great little side note. Any sponsors, any
we're already
brands out there
selling our souls, are we? How long have we been going for? Five or so minutes selling our soul to the highest bidder.
Look, I'll be a sellout.
I will bend to the corporate dollar. Heart rate stats for the first 40 minutes of Elton's long run this morning. Nose strip on.
Did look like it was a bit lower.
Now, is that also just due to it being the start of your run?
That is also true, actually, because then it kind of gets up to cruising altitude at about 30 minutes.
Okay.
And I didn't take the nose strip off until 40.
And it looks pretty steady.
It is pretty steady.
Well, we have had a look at the research now, and Lord knows I like looking at the research. I've got here on PubMed a very reputable source for all your published research needs, with the posing the question: does the external nasal dilator strip, the nose strips that you see everyone having, help in sports activity? And this was a systematic review and a meta-analysis, so compiling a whole bunch of data from a bunch of different studies with numerous participants. And spoilers, if you don't want to read all the methodology and all the research, from the 624 studies that were looked into, over 100 participants, the conclusive conclusion or evidence was that the external nasal dilator strips showed no improvement to VO2 max, no improvement to heart rate, and no improvement to RPE, which is your relative perceived effort. So, conclusively, unless you really like them, and placebo effect is a real thing, there's definitely studies showing that they do not do anything for you, Elton.
And that is the objective data.
That is straight up facts. No ifs, no buts, no maybes.
And on that as well, right? The way I look at it is, it is more efficient to get oxygen in through your nose.
Of course, if you're running at those lower heart rate zones, nose breathing is what everyone says you should be doing.
But this is the way I look at it. It is more efficient, but in a time of physical exertion, when you're out there running and you need to get oxygen in, if the best way for your body to get that in is through your mouth,
just do it.
Then just do it.
Yeah.
There's no point trying to manipulate the way that your body's functions or work, because your body's lazy. Your body will find the most efficient way to do things.
Which instead of lazy, I would just call smart and effective. And if you're 10Ks to go at your first marathon and you're hell-bent on breathing through your nose, and that's the difference between you finishing and not finishing, I think you could have a few breaths through the mouth.
I think it's okay in that circumstance.
I'd
yes.
allow it. I think that's play on.
So that is my comprehensive review on the nasal strips.
So won't be wearing them again?
I will not be wearing them again.
Shout out to everyone that does wear them. Free country, free world, allowed to do what you want. I probably won't be trying them out either by the sounds of it, Elton.
Is that our first segment, hot or not?
That could be a hot or not.
Or is it, I've reviewed the data?
We've had a look at the data.
We've had a look at the data.
And yeah, nasal strips are unnecessary. Don't spend your money on nasal strips.
Unless you're a nasal strip brand that wants to sponsor the pod.
We'll try yours out because I'm sure yours are heaps better than the one Elton tried out originally, which we won't name. We won't say.
Name. Yeah. We're not here to name and shame.
Mm-mm.
It's just unbiased opinions.
Super unbiased. Again, corporate dollar will bend. We'll push rhetorics, true or false. Won't check the data.
We live in the grey area.
Oh, very, very, very lenient boundaries. But no, nasal strips are, not for me, not for Elton.
No.
Breathe through your mouth.
Breathe through your mouth. Let's have a look at the different events going on at the moment.
The world of running.
The world of running. Around the track.
Around the track. What a name.
What a segment name.
Could be a move. Could be the move.
Could be the move.
Big one locally that you and I, a lot of our friends are flying up for. Gold Coast Marathon next weekend.
Correct.
What's the lay of the land? How would you describe the Gold Coast track, El?
I think amongst the running community, it is well known as the fastest track in Australia. For those that don't know, it is essentially a big out and back course along the flat water of the beautiful Gold Coast. So very fast. It is also this year the home of the half marathon national champs as well.
Huge.
So expect to see some fast boys there.
And girls.
And girls, all participants. And a very quick 10K course, and then obviously a very quick marathon course as well.
Out and back. What are your thoughts on an out and back, Elton? I find that to be a head noise city.
I'm not an out and back fan.
No, I'm a loop guy.
My first experience with a very long out and back, and it wasn't even really an out and back, but was Melbourne Marathon.
Right. I've heard you're a bit scared of St Kilda Beach.
I am terrified of St Kilda Beach. For those listening at home, my first marathon in 2023, I believe, was the Melbourne Marathon. Huge event, massive turnout, very fun. Hitting St Kilda Beach at about 20 Ks, and it's just dead straight, and it's out and back. Admittedly, I was in the pain cave very early.
Barely halfway through.
I think I was running my good mate, Ethan, at the time.
Yes.
He turned and looked at me and said, "Well done, mate. You just set a half marathon PR." And I just had to stonewall him. I just had nothing.
Really?
I was hurting.
No smiles, no little victories.
Nothing. I was just head down, trying to just hold on to Ethan's hip the entire time. But a lot of fun. It's just a grueling out and back. And when you get a headwind, you get a headwind.
Right.
So the thought of Gold Coast being a full course that's out and back terrifies me.
Terrifies you. But pretty scenes along the beach, no?
Oh, of course.
Good to look at.
And I mean, it's Gold Coast weather as well.
Sunny. It's almost July, middle of winter here in Australia. And yeah, you'd be hard pressed to see a day below 20 degrees in the Gold Coast, I find. What are we looking at, El?
So just consulting the actual course map because I want to get an exact figure.
If you're looking for a quick track, folks, and a pretty one at that, Gold Coast is definitely a destination that a lot of Australian marathoners or first timers, wow, that looks flat. Elton's just pulled up the elevation of the course, and you'd be hard pressed to find many ridges or bumps throughout.
It's to the point where I don't even know why they put up a course elevation map. We have a minimum of 1 meter and a maximum of 10 meters.
Right at sea level, and you've got 73 massive meters to conquer over your 42.2k distance.
I believe it says 62. Sorry, Gus.
Sorry, that I don't know where I pulled that 73 from. 62 meters, even less. And yeah, it's just straight up and down along the coastline. Great spectator course.
Yeah, and you do get a little bit of deviation there, just looking at the course now, as we've got it up here in front of us. But still a very, very straight track to go. But good luck to everyone that is running Gold Coast.
Shout out to them. PBs are in your future. I can feel it. Another big race shifting away from road running that is occurring as we speak is the Western States 100-mile ultra trail race. And this is arguably the biggest trail race in the world. It's the oldest trail race in the world out California in the US of A, and a lot of fast people go out there to hit those trails.
So for the people that haven't, gone to the dark side into the dirt tracks and the trees, how tough is something like this event? Because you obviously have your UTMB across France and Switzerland.
Yes.
You have your classics like Moab that people know from the likes of David Goggins and your very key influential ultra runners.
Our king Max Jolie, shout out to him.
Our king, the king of Moab.
The himself. King of Moab.
But where does Western States rank against those, and why is it so tough?
Well, this time of year, out in the desert in California, middle of June, it is scorching hot over there. And not only that, in the daytime it's scorching hot, but the second it hits nighttime, desert notorious for being freezing cold. So dealing with those rapid temperature changes and just trail running in general, the huge elevation gain that they have to deal with. I believe they've got 5.5 Ks over the 100 miles, so 162 Ks total with 5.5 Ks elevation gain is pretty grueling.
That is a lot of up and down. And I mean, you've got a bit of experience with these 100 miles, haven't you, Angus?
Some would say. I've heard you've ran 100 miles once before.
I've dabbled in the past, mate. But, I mean, and then comparing the two, like if you're just looking at like plain numbers, UTA here in Australia was a touch over 7 Ks.
In the Blue Mountains, yes. In New South Wales, we had, just over 7.
Just over 7?
To deal with over the 100 miles.
But I have no doubt that this is exponentially harder.
Just the weather factoring in and the different terrain. Like, I feel like it's just pure unbeaten track. We were fortunate enough to have some resemblance of stairs or path throughout our race. But yeah, and like the sort of competition that you're coming up against at Western States, like the first place finisher, I've got his name here, Caleb Olsen, finished the 100-mile race in just over 14 hours. 14 hours, 11 minutes and 50-odd seconds, which is
just
ludicrous.
Stupidly quick, that is.
I think it's sub 6-minute Ks.
Which is wild.
For 160 of the best.
Once again, for reference, we did it in 33 hours.
Rapid. Absolutely gunning it, which was much closer to 10-minute something per K pace.
So he's done that by about a third.
Yeah, he's lapped us. He's gone around again and beaten us.
Almost twice.
But yes.
Just goes to show like how elite these runners are. But it'd be fun to shed a little bit more light on the trail scene moving forward with the pod.
Yes, we will have a more in-depth race recap of our UTA experience, I'm sure, delving into how we trained, how we got our elevation in to prepare for such a different race to, say, a road marathon, where you're looking at, for example, Sydney, now being a world major, has the most elevation gain out of all the world majors, and it's under 400 meters elevation gain for the whole race.
So there's a big difference between 7,200 and...
Yes, and 4 marathons worth of distance.
Yes. But yes, that recap will be coming in a future ep. It will also be coming on the YouTube video as well.
Never Run Club on that channel. Jump over there, check out their stuff. Beautiful work.
That's going to be a great doco. Trailer will hopefully drop within the next week or two.
Exciting stuff.
And then, so if you want a real deep dive into how we were feeling and the psyche of the actual race, then that's where that one's going to be.
And we also ran it with one of our other great mates, Elton's housemate, and I'd go as far to say best mate, I'm sure.
100% best mate.
Lockie Miller. He might have to jump onto the pod when we do dive into it, but he also took on the grueling 100-mile challenge and succeeded at UTA Australia.
And on that, he will definitely be on the pod, I think. Maybe next episode when we do break that down, he would be a great addition. I'm sure he'd love to get in front of a camera as well.
Oh, the fella can chat. Can't he just? We'll have to get him 2 mics for himself.
I'd just snatch the cameras off him as I was leaving the house today.
He had more to say.
He wanted to be on it.
I love it. But yeah, and further on the world stage of trails, Euro Summer means peak UTMB training season. So there's a bunch of trail races coming up in the month of July. Love watching that sort of stuff. The people that are over there hitting that sort of elevation at altitude. Like imagine running 5Ks of elevation where your starting altitude is 4,000 meters up.
It just makes everything that little bit harder with altitude.
As someone who has dealt with altitude, I believe, Elton, you potentially went on a hiking trip. Can you jog my memory where you ended up?
I have went for a stroll and ended up at Mount Everest Base Camp.
Base Camp.
Yes.
Huge.
It is quite big, Everest.
So I've heard rumours.
Yeah. Seen my own eyes. Yeah, massive. Big girls big.
What sort of altitude are we looking at Base Camp?
So Base Camp's around about 5,400, I believe. I'm sure someone can... 5,400. I'm sure someone can
get that fact checked.
And then we ended up hitting a peak altitude of 6,000 meters.
Crazy.
At the summit of a mountain called Kalapathar. It is.
Beautiful. And did you notice a difference in your breathing, the ease or lack of ease to breathe?
Oh, 100%. It's it just takes such a toll, even just walking. Just sitting down and eating lunch, you're just puffing. Like
every day, just sort of mundane stuff.
Yeah. Wow. Put in perspective, Lachlan himself, his pulse ox got down to about 73 when we were up at that far.
Can you explain, what would a regular person say around sea level? What would their pulse ox be?
At sea level, ideally you want 99, 98%. So your pulse ox is going to be how saturated your blood is with oxygen.
Yes.
So ideally, your blood's fully saturated with oxygen because that's how oxygen gets to your body.
Of course.
At high altitudes, there's less oxygen, less in your blood. So we're taking constant measurements throughout the trek, and at that altitude, Lockie's dipped down to about 70 odd.
Crazy.
And mine stayed up around about 93, but that's just how individual it comes to, and just pure genetics.
So you reckon you're built better? Are you saying that?
I would say my body adapts to altitude a bit better,
right,
to put it in a civil sense. But at the end of the day, it doesn't come down to how fit you are with altitude. It's
how well your hemoglobin can absorb oxygen in the bloodstream and distribute around to your cells.
Correct. So training for these big trail races at that altitude and running the actual races just makes things, even if it's 10% harder across 100 miles, that stacks up.
Yeah. And it seems like the only real option for these high level athletes is to just go over there and train there. Like, there's really nothing here that you can do.
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at the training camps over across Central Africa and in those peaks, people will go spend months over there in the marathon off-season training Obviously, you have some very elite coaches over there, some very elite runners.
Of course.
So any time where you can have the opportunity to sharpen your own iron with a bit of other iron, it's worth it. But training at that altitude as well is just... Eventually, after a certain period of time, your body does adapt a little bit. It does reduce back to normal, but there is that little bit of an adaptation over a period of time.
Yeah.
The key emphasis there is over a period of time.
Right. So like a couple of days of work, or are we looking at...
We're looking at like months. Like a month.
A big commitment.
Yes.
Not something you can... Us casuals can do.
No. Once again, I'm sure there's some scientific person that will fact check me there, but there's a big difference between wearing an altitude mask or training at an altitude simulation gym and living at altitude.
Oh, yeah. Again, not my racket. I don't need to do that.
No, not at all. Not at all. We're not naming names.
Not naming names.
Not naming
Unless you give us money, and then we'll name names.
Then we'll 100% name names.
We'll put it here, up above our head. We'll put the T-shirts on and everything.
Yeah.
We'll name names. Paint the wall.
Start filling the set. I think we've got some nice space here for...
Plenty. I thought we'd just hang all our medals and stuff. You know?
Yeah, we can do that too. Or fan submissions.
Shout out our fans.
Shout out our fans.
We have those.
Because they will come.
Yeah. So,
in droves.
Oh, droves.
You find them off with a stick.
Without a doubt. Well, so Elton, for everyone listening along or watching on the YouTubes, what are you currently training for? What's an average week look like? And how are you managing work, uni, and training?
Wow, that's a huge breakdown.
Big accumulative question.
Big breakdown.
Hitting buzzwords.
I'm gonna get the Strava stats up for the week as we speak as well.
Beautiful.
About this too. So finally this week, feeling back to my somewhat normal self again.
Because you
my running
had a bit of an injury after the UTA.
Yeah, so it was more of a load issue, I guess we could break it down to, as my physio would say.
Mm-hmm.
So no real tears, strains, anything like that. Just a lot of angry tendons from running that time and that distance. So it has taken me a little bit for my groin to get over that, and my ankle as well. But this week we hit some nice speed sessions.
Yeah.
The longest run since UTA as well.
Nice.
So it's just nice to be feeling back again. But in terms of the raw numbers, we hit 63 Ks this week.
And how many runs is that this week?
So, jeez, you're hitting me with the hard questions that I'm not prepared for.
The people want to know how this 63 breaks down individually. So going back to first run of the week.
We got 6 runs this week.
Which is quite a lot. Like, I know I definitely didn't do 6 runs this week. But are you balancing these runs with any other form of training, just quickly?
No. So I'm sure once we get into Gus's, we'll talk about the cross-training side of things, because there's obviously so many different approaches that you can go with a marathon prep. But for me, no. I am just sticking to the pure running. And impact and abusing my legs. Beautiful.
We love to hear it. So you've done 6 runs this week, and this is in the main goal for Sydney Marathon.
Correct. So what we are now, as of recording, 9 weeks out.
9 weeks out from Sydney Marathon.
In terms of time goal, we'll have to evaluate how the next few weeks go.
Picking up those speeds, picking up that volume.
Yeah, just once I'm fully back into it, then we'll evaluate. I do have some times that have escaped me in the past that I would love to...
There's an elusive number that you want that we don't have to disclose yet.
We won't disclose yet. There's 2 elusive numbers there.
Spoilers.
But yeah, we'll have to see how the next few weeks unfold.
Beautiful.
But for me...
Across these 6 runs, are we looking at easy runs, tempo sessions, intervals?
So we have one...
What does that noise mean?
Maybe he died.
We have gone to single view camera because Elton, who I remember saying I will charge the cameras
If DJI want to jump on as a sponsor, we are currently using 3 of their cameras.
And I'm really looking into the mini drone that follows you, because like on the trails, I reckon that would be something special.
Excellent for content.
Huge content, guys.
We're
All right.
about the content.
3 cameras and a battery, a triple battery pack. And we are on. Framing may be slightly different, but we are, again, casuals. Casuals is the big word for this podcast.
We are also taking on any suggestions onto how we can improve the set, make things easier for ourselves, because
100%. There's a chance that we are very echoey in this lovely big lounge room. But, yeah, we have an Instagram as just quick, shameless plug, the Long Run 100, and that is also the name of the YouTube. So go give us a follow on both. Check us out. Watch the videos. Like the content. All that. Engage. And yeah, suggestions. What you want to hear. How we can be better at speaking into microphones or filming us speaking into microphones. And we will go from there. But Elton, back to your week of running.
Back to my week of running. Sorry. We'll get into it. I stand corrected. It was 5 runs this week.
5 runs.
Strava tricked me with the 1 year ago.
Classic.
I was a lot
You've been
faster.
running for a year.
I've
You're
been running
a
for a
weapon.
while. So yeah, in that we've got 2 easy runs, 1 speed session, I guess you could say. As in the coaching business, we would call a quality session.
Right.
And 1 long run.
Okay. And can you just quickly break down the difference between an easy run, a speed session, and a long run?
Of course I can. So really, we break it down into 4 main types of sessions.
4 types.
So you've got your absorption runs, which are your easy runs. So they are quite relatively low heart rate, low impact, low effort.
Beautiful.
We're aiming for a 3 to 4 to 5 RPE.
Relative perceived effort.
And then we've got our quality sessions. So they're going to be your intervals, your tempos, anything where you're getting the heart rate up intentionally.
Right.
You're moving the legs a little bit faster.
Putting in a bit of work.
Yeah, and you're looking for form, for quality, for speed.
Beautiful.
You then have your S sessions.
S.
Which stands for strong.
Right.
Or strength. So they generally incorporate like your gym sessions and strengthening those stabilizers, but also I like to throw hill sessions into that category as well.
For the trail runners out there, that's especially aimed at you.
And that's what I found the most beneficial in our trail training. And actually for this marathon prep, those strength sessions have carried over massively.
For sure.
And then your last one's your long sessions. So your long runs. Once again, relatively low effort. The RPE might get up to 5, 6, especially towards the latter end. But generally, we're looking for that low intensity still. Low heart rate. But we're pushing out those Ks.
Yeah. So not an issue if it does get up, especially for people hitting their distance, like milestones for the first time, especially.
Of course. And like they're going to be hard. Like running's not easy. So pushing out those long sessions are arguably the most important, which I think everyone would recognise in a marathon build. And a marathon's not easy, and neither are those runs, unfortunately.
Don't let anyone tell you, oh, you're just doing a marathon. It's hard. Hard for everyone.
1% of the population. Do you reckon that number's changed?
As running's gotten more popular.
Yeah. Do you reckon it's above 1% now?
I watched a TikTok shamelessly because I'm addicted to TikTok yesterday where they still said 1%, or they actually now said 1% start a marathon and only 0.3% of the population finish.
Wow.
So
0.3%.
So more people are taking up the marathon potentially, as everyone should give it a crack at least once in your life. I've got one of my mates, Notorious, he's like, gun to your head, you could finish a marathon. Anyone can do it. If you had to do it, you could do it. But yeah, a lot of people are taking it up, and people just need to push themselves a little bit harder, get that done, get that medal.
See, I'm really, really shocked by that number, that it's a 0.3%.
World population's only getting bigger.
How controversial do I want to get the pod here?
Not yet.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to what I did for my speed session then for this week.
I'd love to hear it.
Just quickly, and then we'll move on to your week of training.
So just one speed session for the week.
One for the week.
And an all-out, it's a big effort. Testing the waters as you're coming back from injury.
Correct. Now, how I'll structure it in terms of one speed session a week will change in the weeks moving forward.
Of course.
But yeah, like you said, getting back into it, I tested the legs with 6 1K reps at a target of 3:30 pace.
Which is very quick.
Yes.
What sort of rest, recovery time have we got in between those 1K reps?
I gave myself a 2-minute walking rest. So I gave myself a good amount of time to catch the breath up and calm it down a bit. I have this bad knack of thinking I can just pick up where I left my last marathon block.
As everyone does. You miss a couple of gym sessions for the week or for the month, you can still lift the same weight. You miss a couple of runs for the month or the week, you can still run the same pace.
And it's an easy trap to fall into.
Without question. So I'm going to guess, without looking at your stats, you've gone out quite hot.
It seems like that's a bit of the case, but I'll tell you why. So, well, not overly. The reps went 333, 331, 332, 338, 347, 339.
And that was because of the headwind at the end.
There was a killer headwind.
An extreme headwind. Some people actually had to turn around and they weren't able to finish their run. So
it was windy. Maybe that's why I felt so good on the reps on the way down. And I was feeling great. I was like sitting at 330 nicely, didn't push it too hard. Turned around on the break wall, actually, midway through the 4th rep. And then I realised why I was feeling so good.
Newey locals would know it well that the run home from the break wall is almost always into a headwind.
Always into a headwind. I usually try and avoid that section of Newcastle for my interval runs, but it was a sunny day, so I was feeling it. But yeah, so I'm still happy with those back end of the reps, even though they dropped off in pace. Mentality that I'm moving towards with this block is if there's a hill or if there's wind, it's not trying to push myself then at 110%. It's accepting that, okay, I can drop it 5 seconds per kilometre here.
Without a doubt. And you are silly or you have been misled if you're going to believe that if your goal pace for a marathon or whatever is a 6-minute pace or a 5-minute pace or a 7-minute pace, you're going to run exactly that pace the whole way through and it's never going to change regardless of what situation you're in.
Exactly right. And I think that was a trap that I have fallen into the last couple of years, is that I've got to hit this number exactly. And that's killer, because if you don't hit those workouts, then they can just be even more damaging then.
It's a fine balance of beating yourself up over not hitting the targets you've set for yourself, but also pushing yourself harder to be able to improve in these speed sessions, which will ultimately benefit you on race day.
Correct. Great way to sum it up.
Oh.
But yes, that was my session. Nice and simple, nice and easy. And yeah, then like I said, I capped off the week with a cheeky little 21k run.
Great volume in the legs, especially this early in the marathon prep.
Yes, I'll probably be looking at peaking around, say, 80Ks a week. I think I trust in the volume and the strength that I built from the UTA training.
Of course.
And it's more so just about seeing how fast I can move my little legs.
Without a doubt. And that is obviously not a one-size-fits-all sort of weekly volume. That is after multiple years of training as a seasoned marathon runner.
Season's a big word.
Yeah, I like it. I think it suits you.
So, Angus, break down your week of training. So, I believe that, yes, it's the Sydney Marathon that you are preparing for, but there is another event in mind as well.
Yes. So, Sydney Marathon is next on the list in terms of events. But then after that, I will be testing my luck at Melbourne 70.3, which is a triathlon at the half Ironman distance, which is a 1.8k swim, 90k bike ride, and then a half marathon. But Sydney Marathon is the main goal at the moment. Again, I have my time goal in mind that I would like to hit, that I shan't be telling anyone yet in case I don't hit it or don't feel like I will hit it.
We had to protect the ego at all.
Got to protect. Oh, the goal was always 20 minutes slower than what I originally predicted.
That's why everyone has A, B, and C goals.
Controversial topic. Could come up later. But yes, so I split my training up this week. My overall recap, I got to take out the bike rides to work because they don't count. 16 activities this week.
16?
Yes. So that's across gym, like strength training.
Yes.
Swimming in the pool, riding the bike, and running.
Correct. Right.
So for the runs this week, I've done 48 Ks. That included a 10k trail run today, which I did some hill reps.
Oh, I did not see that on Strava. Sorry, I haven't.
You haven't kudos yet, man. Oh,
apologies.
That's the main point of Strava. Kudos.
What took you back to the trails? Just out of curiosity.
Had to dust off the Norders.
Nice.
Get them out there.
You got some Norders, have you?
Yeah, for those that know, the Norders are where it's at.
Did you end up getting a second pair of Norders, Gus?
Not yet, but I, depending on which trail race I set my eyes on next, these will probably be out of case, so I will have to get another pair of Norders.
Just got to.
It'd be rude not to.
For those of you that don't know Angus McPherson, he's a chronic consumer of...
just full stop.
Just chronic consumer.
There'll be plenty of gear trying throughout this podcast because, and you're not exempt from these thoughts, but we do like buying a new shoe every once in a while or a new item of clothing.
Shout out Satisfy.
Shout out Moth Tech. Shout out Satisfy.
We did both miss out on the Oakley Satisfy collab.
Kind of a bit filthy about there mustn't have been much stock available, but we'll go past that. So yes, hill reps today to get the quads firing. So I hit just over 330 meters elevation over the 10Ks.
Nice.
Which was pretty good. Yesterday hit a speed session or tempo session, which was just 11Ks. And then the run before did a track session, which was my main run on Thursday. So I hit the track, did some intervals, and that looked as a more in-depth breakdown as I get up the Garmin app.
While you're getting that up and looking for that in the Garmin app, do you find much difference in your speed sessions doing them on a track as opposed to doing them on the road?
I 100% do. And I'm a huge advocate for the track. I've only been going now for the last month or so, and just the consistency of the track, of the flat, even terrain. If your goal is just to work on your speed and getting faster for whatever your end goal is, I am 100% an advocate for running on the track and avoiding having to stop at traffic lights or uneven pavement or people walking around. The track is, if you have a track available to you or close enough nearby, I would 100% recommend going.
It's also fun to just give it a go, isn't it?
You feel faster at the track.
You feel faster.
It's without a doubt.
It's also less impact on the knees.
Another great point.
More on the calves, though, I find.
Lockie also said that. So, and that could potentially be to... I know I use carbon-plated shoes. I assume you also use carbon-plated shoes on the track?
Yes.
For those that know, they are notoriously... you are trading comfort for propulsion, speed, efficiency.
It's trading softness for stiffness, really.
Yes, that's a brilliant way of putting it. So my track session, I've just pulled it up here, was, I thought, quite a tough one. I was doing 400 meter reps, so not quite as long as yours. Mm-hmm. I did 12 of them with a 1 minute walking rest in between. So shorter turnaround time, shorter distance, and I initially and very ambitiously set out trying to do 3:15s for all of them, and quickly realized after the first, how many reps did I get through under that? First 4 reps that wasn't going to be sustainable.
So this is where you tell the audience that you did those first 4 reps to build up the lactate in the legs.
Of course.
And then toned it back to your actual 400 meter pace.
Right, which ended up sitting just under that 3:25 pace.
Still very quick.
I personally was quite happy with that. So, yeah, 400s, the goal was just to basically run as fast as I could for that shorter interval and with minimal recovery time. And that's not only training, just having the legs get used to running above your, say, threshold pace or the pace that I will be planning to run on race day. Much more above the pace I plan on running on race day.
3:15 is pretty close to your race pace.
Yeah, it's normally what I'm hitting for the marathon distance. Definitely not. And this is also a great trainer for spiking the heart rate and having it will attempt to quickly equalize and come back down during those recovery periods.
Yes, and that then is a very good indicator of how well your body can then clear out all the bad stuff in the body and get oxygen in, as well as how well can your body flush the lactate then in those rests.
Which for runners or for people who have run a half marathon or a marathon before would know that is a massive killer in terms of just turning the legs over.
If someone wants to, and this is asking for a big sponsor,
well,
but if a sponsor wanted to throw in some tester for some lactate threshold testing,
I'd put my body through some horrible things again for the corporate dollar.
Because I'm very, very interested in that world of the science behind running. There's a guy called Matthew Hansen.
I've heard the name.
Matt Hanso on Instagram that I follow. And he does all of his training around lactate and lactate threshold.
And what sort of distances or races is he competing
He runs
in?
a lot of cross country. He's from Australia. He runs some college events in that kind of medium distance runs. So I think about your 3,000 meter and then also your cross country events.
Yep.
So for every speed rep that he'll do, he will test his lactate.
Okay.
And see where it is, and then base his pace and his effort off the lactate.
And how does one test their lactate?
Finger prick. Almost like a blood glucose tester.
Right.
Yeah.
So relatively not invasive, but harsh on the training side of things.
Harsh on the training. It means that you're pushing your body and your muscles at their possible limit constantly or very specifically.
So Hazy doesn't have much of an easy run scheduled into his week.
I'm sure he does. But yes, his hard runs are hard. Go check him out if you're curious because he does some interesting things. But sorry to digress.
No, the lactate and the other big number that I know if anyone that has a Garmin has stresses over this, loses sleep over it, the VO2 max.
VO2 max. I have always wanted to go and do a VO2 max test.
For those that don't know, a VO2 max test, they have the big oxygen mask on you. They basically strap you into like a treadmill or a rower or a bike, any sort of erg machine, and just whip you and make you run as fast as you can.
Gus is fantasizing the whips, but yes, essentially that's it. They keep pushing it faster and faster and faster until you quite literally fall off.
Yeah, and so I'd like to know. The Garmin gave me mine without putting in that much work, and I'd love to know how accurate the Garmin's VO2 max is compared to a genuine VO2 max test.
That would be a really fun segment. Is comparing our watch VO2 maxes to a properly done closed circuit test.
Garmin, if you back your metrics, send us and we'll do a VO2 max test and prove or disprove if your watch is any good.
Yes, I hope mine's accurate.
Oh, Yeah, I'm pretty happy with what the watch tells me, but it could just be inflating the ego.
Yeah, I mean,
We don't need to share numbers.
feel good, look good, run good.
Oh, shout out, look good.
But once again, we digress. Back to your training week. Sorry, Gus.
No. So yeah, again, 1 or 2 little easy runs at the start of the week. Nothing major. Just turning the legs over. And yeah, my main sessions were obviously that track session, the tempo session on Saturday. So the track session, the 400s, ended up with a warm up and a cool down, like 5 minutes each around the 8K mark.
Yep.
A very good one if you only have 45 odd minutes to do your track session in, because a lot of them, when you say that you're doing your 1K intervals or your 1.2K intervals, it can be much more time consuming.
And your sessions don't need to be any longer than that. Like, obviously, as you get into your PQ marathon block, they are going to be quite long sessions. But in terms of quality versus quantity, for your speed sessions, you want your quality. Your quantity is going to come from your easy runs and your long runs.
100%. The speed is, that's exactly what it is. You are looking to run fast.
And for those of you out there that don't necessarily have a time goal in mind, whether it's for the marathon or a half marathon or a 10K, no matter what your distance goal is, having speed sessions in your program is so important for your training, even if you do not have a time goal in mind.
100%. If finish is goal number 1, running quicker than you reckon or you think you'll be running on the day makes running that pace on the day feel so much easier.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
As simple as that. So no long run from you this week?
No, time did not allow, but that's where the cross training comes in. So I am lucky enough to have the Zwift set up, which for those that don't know, it's my road bike, where I've taken the back wheel off, set it up to a trainer, and I am doing basically indoor bike sessions. Done, I think, 140 Ks on the bike this week.
Yeah, well,
which is a few hours, and that it's like straight up and down. It is training a large portion of the same muscles that you will use in running, and I definitely have noticed from training for the UTA, training for my first marathons, when you're sore, your knees are sore or your ankles are sore, or from just running new distances, like new thresholds, breaking those sort of barriers that you haven't done before, the low impact that a bike offers, or even just if the weather is horrible outside, and you don't want to run in the rain or the wind or the floods that we've had in Newcastle, you can park up on the indoor bike, or if you don't have an indoor bike and you have a gym membership, go sit at the gym, go sit on the bike there and get valuable training in. And then outside of that, I try to do 4 full body gym sessions a week. Mm-hmm. So I split it up in a full body split solely because of the marathon training. Yeah. Because having an out and out leg day, I personally find I can't run for the next 2 or 3 days. Yeah. Like the muscle fatigue, and I'm sure you'd know from hitting squats, hitting lunges, calf raises, all that, it's not really feasible to have an effective run after that.
No. And same thing, there's so many different ways to go about your strength training. So I have started to incorporate a leg day into my gym sessions, but I'm not in that gym session with the focus of building some tree trunks.
No, hypertrophy isn't your goal number 1.
No. I've accepted that I do have runner legs.
You're built for the sport.
And that's all right. And I think to be a runner, then the leg work I'm doing in the gym has to be specific to that running.
And that's the same with all sports. So running is no different.
Exactly. So, I mean, for me, it's a lot more banded work. It's a lot more single leg movements and less blast in the legs with
heavy weights.
Well, on the contrary, with heavy weights.
Right.
Is the approach that I've gone to it. So less volume.
So low reps.
So the idea there is I have volume in my training and my running. Mm-hmm. I have endurance in my running. Mm-hmm. So from the gym, I want the strength.
You don't need the muscular endurance.
I don't need the muscular endurance from that gym session.
In terms of that training facet.
Yes, correct. So for me, and I'm not saying that people should do this. I'm no physio.
Everyone is different. Yeah,
everyone is different. But when I was having my Achilles issues, tendon, the way to spark adaptation in tendons are to load it.
Mm-hmm.
So loading it above 50% body weight, single leg calf raises was the way
you found was most beneficial to improve.
Was most beneficial,
of course.
And I noticed a massive difference. Then Achilles pain is gone, calves are a hell of a lot stronger. But like I said, that's me and the specific type of niggle that I was going through.
For sure.
And I say niggle because runners don't get injured. We just get niggles.
Yeah. Oh, you can you can just keep running. You'll always be able to keep running.
Run through it.
Shin splints, run through it.
Shin splints, they thing.
They're not real. It will, if we do end up getting a following or people that listen to this podcast, I'm sure they will be divided very quickly on our opinions.
And that's a great segue to more so on what you said before about finding us on socials, finding our YouTube. Suggestions, hot takes, topics, send them through.
100%. If you want to hear us basically just argue and be on different sides of the fence, which I feel like definitely on a few things you have some silly opinions because I'm correct, but no.
And this is a platform for us to unpack those differences.
Without a doubt. We will, to the best of our knowledge, I feel we do spend enough time running and spending money on running. We have some form of knowledge or have access to someone who has some form of knowledge of most controversial topics or less well-known parts about the running world.
Exactly. If we don't know the answer, we'll find the answer.
ChatGPT.
We'll look at the research.
We will look at the research. PubMed. Go do your own research, but we will also do it.
But on that note, I feel like we should wrap up the pod. Let's wrap it up here. Thank you for listening to the pilot episode.
Yes, thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to us talk more than we already do, and we hope to see you pop back up in our future episodes.
Yes, we do. All right, Gus. Till next time.
See you later.